My name is Margaret Chen, and I'm 65 years old. Last Tuesday morning, I went to the bank to withdraw money for my monthly expenses and discovered that my life savings, $287,000 that I'd spent 40 years accumulating, was completely gone. Every single penny vanished, and the person who took it was someone I trusted more than anyone else in the world. Someone I'd raised, loved, and sacrificed everything for. My son Daniel. Let me tell you about the moment I realized what he'd done. The moment that changed everything. I was standing at the bank counter, talking to the teller, a young woman named Jessica. I'd given her my account number and asked to withdraw $2,000 for my monthly bills and groceries. Jessica typed on her computer, then frowned. She typed some more, her frown deepening. "Is something wrong?" I asked. Mrs. Chen, I'm showing a balance of $47.23 in this account," Jessica said, looking confused. I laughed. That can't be right. There should be about $287,000 in that account. Jessica's face went pale. Let me check the transaction history." She typed rapidly, clicking through screens. Then she turned the monitor so I could see it. "Mrs. Chen, according to this, there were 3 large withdrawals made over the past 6 weeks. On September 3rd, $100,000. On September 17th, $95,000. And on October 1st, $92,000. The withdrawals were made in person at our downtown branch." I stared at the screen, unable to process what I was seeing. That's impossible. I didn't make those withdrawals. I haven't been to the downtown branch in over a year. "The withdrawals were made by someone with full access to your account," Jessica said carefully. "Is there anyone else authorized on this account?" My stomach dropped. "My son, Daniel Chen. I added him to the account 5 years ago just in case of emergencies." Jessica nodded slowly. "According to our records, all 3 withdrawals were made by Daniel Chen." The bank manager, Mr. Walsh, came over then. Jessica had pressed a button to alert him that something was wrong. "Mrs. Chen, why don't you come to my office?" Mr. Walsh said gently. In his office, Mr. Walsh pulled up the security camera footage from the downtown branch. There, on the screen, was my son Daniel. I watched as he walked up to the counter, filled out a withdrawal slip, showed his ID, and walked away with a bank check for $100,000. Then footage from 2 weeks later, the same thing. Another $95,000. Then again 2 weeks after that, another $92,000. 3 times, my son had gone to the bank and withdrawn nearly all my money. Money I'd been saving since I was 25 years old. Money from decades of working as a nurse, working overtime, living frugally, saving every penny I could. "Why didn't anyone call me?" I asked Mr. Walsh, my voice shaking. "Why didn't anyone think it was suspicious that someone was withdrawing hundreds of thousands of dollars?" "Mrs. Chen, Daniel Chen is a joint account holder with full access," Mr. Walsh said apologetically. "He had every legal right to make those withdrawals, and he withdrew them as bank checks made out to himself, which is completely within his rights as an account holder." "But it's my money," I said, my voice rising. "I earned that money, I saved it, he had no right." "Legally, he did," Mr. Walsh said gently. "When you added him as a joint account holder, you gave him equal ownership of the account. Anything in that account belongs equally to both of you. I'm very sorry, Mrs. Chen, but there's nothing the bank can do. This is a matter you'll need to resolve with your son or through the courts." I sat in Mr. Walsh's office, shaking. My son had stolen my life savings. $287,000. Gone. And legally, it wasn't even considered theft because I'd given him access to the account. Before we continue this story and find out what Margaret does next and what happens to Daniel, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Hit that like button and turn on a notifications bell so you don't miss what happens. This story is going to shock you. Drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from: United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, Philippines. Let me know who's with me on this journey. Now back to Margaret's story. To understand how I ended up in this situation, I need to take you back 5 years. Back to when I made the decision that would eventually destroy my financial security. 5 years ago, I was 60 years old and still working full-time as a registered nurse at St. Mary's Hospital. I'd been a nurse for 35 years. It was hard work, 12-hour shifts, being on my feet all day, dealing with difficult patients and demanding doctors. But I loved it. And more importantly, it paid well enough that I could save money. I'd been saving aggressively since I was 25 years old. Every paycheck, I'd put aside as much as I could. I lived in a small one-bedroom apartment. I drove an old car. I rarely bought new clothes or went on vacations. Every spare dollar went into my savings account. My plan was to retire at 65 with enough money saved that I could live comfortably for the rest of my life. No working until I was 70 or 80. No struggling to make ends meet on Social Security alone. I wanted financial security and independence. By the time I was 60, I'd saved $245,000. It had taken me 35 years of hard work and sacrifice, but I'd done it. Then one day, my son Daniel came to visit me. He was 32 years old then, working as a pharmaceutical sales representative. He'd always been good with money, or so I thought. He had a nice apartment, drove a nice car, and dressed well. "Mom, I need to talk to you about something," Daniel said, sitting at my kitchen table with a serious expression. "What's wrong?" I asked immediately, worried. "Nothing's wrong," Daniel assured me. "But I've been thinking, you're 60 years old now, you're not getting any younger. Have you thought about what would happen if something happened to you?" "What do you mean?" I asked. "I mean, if you had a stroke or a heart attack or got in a car accident," Daniel said. "If you were suddenly incapacitated and couldn't manage your own affairs. Do you have anyone who could access your bank accounts to pay your bills? Do you have power of attorney set up?" I hadn't thought about it. "No, I guess I don't." "Mom, you need to think about these things," Daniel said. "What if you're in the hospital unconscious and no one can access your accounts to pay your rent or your utilities? What if you need someone to make financial decisions for you?" He had a point. I lived alone. I didn't have a husband. My parents were dead. My only close family was Daniel. "What do you suggest?" I asked. "You should add me as a joint account holder on your bank account," Daniel said. "That way, if anything happens to you, I can access the money to take care of your bills and expenses. It's just a safety measure, Mom, just in case." It seemed like a reasonable suggestion, a responsible thing to do. "Would I need to give you power of attorney?" I asked. "That's one option," Daniel said. "But power of attorney can be complicated and expensive to set up. The easier solution is to just add me to your bank account. It's simple, free, and it gives me access if you need help." So the next week, I went to the bank with Daniel. We sat down with a banker, and I added Daniel as a joint account holder on my savings account. "Just to be clear," the banker said, "as a joint account holder, your son will have full and equal access to this account. He can deposit and withdraw money without your permission. The money in this account will legally belong to both of you equally." "That's fine," I said. "It's just for emergencies." Daniel smiled and squeezed my hand. "Don't worry, Mom. I'm not going to touch your money. This is just so I can help you if you need it." I trusted him. He was my son. Why wouldn't I trust him? That was my first mistake. For the next 5 years, everything was fine. Daniel never touched my account. I continued working, continued saving. My balance grew from $245,000 to $287,000. Daniel and I had a good relationship. He'd visit me every few weeks. We'd have dinner together. We'd talk about his job, his life, his plans. He seemed to be doing well. He'd gotten promoted at work. He'd bought a condo. He was talking about maybe getting engaged to his girlfriend, Lisa. I had no reason to think anything was wrong. I had no idea that behind the scenes, Daniel's life was falling apart. I had no idea that he was drowning in debt. I had no idea that he was looking at my bank account, the account with his name on it, the account with nearly $300,000, and seeing it as the solution to all his problems. After leaving the bank, I sat in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes, trying to process what had just happened. My son had stolen my life savings. No, not stolen, legally. He hadn't stolen anything. He'd withdrawn money from an account that had his name on it. Money that legally belonged to him as much as it belonged to me. But morally, he'd absolutely stolen from me. That money was mine. I'd earned it. I'd saved it. He'd taken it without asking, without telling me, knowing I would never have agreed to it. Finally, I drove to Daniel's condo. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and he was at work, but I didn't care. I needed answers. Now. I parked in the visitor parking and went up to his unit. I had a spare key. He'd given it to me years ago in case of emergencies. I let myself in. Daniel's condo was a nice 2-bedroom unit in a good neighborhood. Modern furniture, big screen TV, expensive-looking decorations. Everything looked perfect. Too perfect. I started looking around, not really knowing what I was looking for. Evidence, I guess. Some explanation for why my son would do this to me. In his home office, I found it. Stacks of papers on his desk, bills, credit card statements, bank statements, collection notices. I started reading through them, my hands shaking. Credit card bills showing balances of $35,000, $28,000, $42,000. Multiple credit cards, all maxed out. A car loan for a BMW showing he owed $65,000. A personal loan from a bank showing he owed $48,000. Collection notices for medical bills totaling $12,000. A notice from the condo association saying he was 3 months behind on his homeowner association fees. A letter from his mortgage company saying he was in default on his mortgage. I added it up in my head. Daniel was over $230,000 in debt. And he'd taken $287,000 from my account. The timing made sense now. First withdrawal in early September, probably to pay off some of the credit cards. Second withdrawal 2 weeks later, probably to pay off more debts and catch up on his mortgage. Third withdrawal in October, probably to pay off the rest and have some cushion. My son was drowning in debt, and he'd used my life savings to save himself. Without asking, without telling me, without giving me any choice. I heard the front door open. Daniel was home early. He walked into the condo and stopped dead when he saw me sitting at his desk, surrounded by his bills. "Mom," he said, his face going pale, "what are you doing here?" I held up one of the credit card statements. "I went to the bank today," I said, my voice surprisingly calm. Imagine my surprise when I tried to withdraw money and discovered my account was empty. Daniel closed his eyes. "Mom, I can explain." "Can you?" I asked. "Can you explain how you stole $287,000 from me?" "I didn't steal it," Daniel said, his voice defensive. "My name was on that account. I had every right." "You had no right," I interrupted, my voice rising. "That was my money, money I spent 40 years saving, money I was counting on for my retirement, and you took it without even asking me." "I was going to tell you," Daniel said weakly. "When?" I demanded. "When were you going to tell me? After you spent it all, after it was too late for me to do anything about it?" Daniel sat down heavily on the couch. "Mom, I was in trouble. I'm in serious financial trouble. I owe a lot of money. I was about to lose my condo. The bank was going to foreclose. I had debt collectors calling me every day. I didn't know what else to do." "So you stole from your mother," I said. "I borrowed from you," Daniel corrected. "Mom, I'm going to pay you back. I promise. I just needed time to get back on my feet. Once I deal with all my debts, once I'm stable again, I'll pay you back every penny." "How?" I asked. "Daniel, you just told me you're drowning in debt. You're about to lose your condo. How exactly are you planning to pay me back $287,000? Daniel didn't have an answer. "You weren't planning to pay me back, were you?" I said quietly. "You were planning to take my money and hope I'd never find out, or hope I'd just let it go because you're my son." "That's not true," Daniel protested, but he couldn't look me in the eye. "You destroyed my retirement," I said, my voice breaking. I'm 65 years old, Daniel. I was planning to retire next month. I had enough money saved to live comfortably for the rest of my life. And now I have nothing. You took everything. Mom, I'm sorry, Daniel said, finally looking at me. I'm so sorry. I was desperate. I didn't know what else to do. I made a terrible mistake. A mistake, I repeated. Daniel, a mistake is accidentally withdrawing money from the wrong account. What you did was deliberate. You went to the bank 3 separate times over 6 weeks. You withdrew nearly $300,000. That wasn't a mistake. That was theft. Legally, it wasn't theft, Daniel said quietly. And that's what hurt the most. He was right. Legally, he hadn't done anything wrong. He'd withdrawn money from an account with his name on it, an account I'd voluntarily added him to. Get out, Daniel said suddenly. What? I said, shocked. This is my home, Daniel said, his voice getting harder. You let yourself in without permission. I want you to leave. Daniel. Give me back my key and leave, Daniel said. Mom, I'm sorry about the money, I really am, but it's done. The money's spent. There's nothing I can do about it now, so please just leave. I stared at my son, this person I'd raised, this person I'd loved and sacrificed for, and realized I didn't know him at all. I put his spare key on the coffee table and walked out. As I drove home, tears streaming down my face, I realized something. I was broke. At 65 years old, I was completely broke. I had $47.23 in my bank account. I had no retirement savings. I had no way to retire. And my son had done this to me. But Daniel had made one critical mistake. He'd underestimated me. He thought I'd just let this go. He thought I'd accept losing my life savings because he was my son and I loved him. He was wrong. I wasn't going to let this go. I wasn't going to just accept what he'd done. I was going to fight back. And Daniel was going to learn that taking advantage of your mother has consequences. Serious consequences. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Comment below, where are you watching from? Let me know. That night, I sat in my small apartment, staring at my bank statement. $47.23. That's all I had left after 40 years of hard work and sacrifice. I'd always been so careful with money, so responsible, and in 6 weeks, my son had destroyed everything I'd built. I could have cried. Part of me wanted to curl up in bed and give up, but I'd spent my entire life as a nurse, dealing with difficult situations, making tough decisions under pressure. I didn't give up easily. Instead, I got angry, and then I got strategic. I pulled out a notebook and started making a list of everything I knew. 1. Daniel had taken $287,000 from our joint account. 2. He'd used the money to pay off massive debts, over $230,000 worth. 3. Legally, he had the right to take the money because his name was on the account. 4. He had no intention of paying me back. 5. I was now broke with no retirement savings. Then I started making a list of my options. Option 1. Do nothing except the loss, keep working as a nurse, try to rebuild my savings over the next 10 or 15 years before I was too old to work. No, that wasn't acceptable. I was already 65. My body was tired. I'd earned my retirement. Option 2. Sue Daniel, try to get a lawyer and sue him for the money, claiming it was stolen or taken under false pretenses. But Mr. Walsh at the bank had been clear. Legally, Daniel had every right to that money as a joint account holder. A lawsuit would be expensive, time-consuming, and I'd probably lose. Option 3. Report him to the police, go to the police, and report that my son had stolen from me. But again, legally it wasn't theft. The police would tell me it was a civil matter, not a criminal one. Option 4. Make his life miserable if I couldn't get my money back legally. I could make sure Daniel understood exactly what he'd done and make him face consequences. This option had potential. I thought about Daniel's life. His job, his condo, his girlfriend Lisa, his reputation. What did he care about? What could I threaten? And then it hit me. The perfect plan. A way to get revenge and possibly get at least some of my money back. I smiled for the first time since discovering the theft. Daniel thought he'd gotten away with it. He thought I'd just accept what he'd done because I was his mother and I loved him. He was about to learn he was very, very wrong. Wednesday morning, I called in sick to work. I'd only called in sick maybe 5 times in 35 years, so my supervisor didn't question it. I needed time to execute my plan. First, I went to a copy shop and made copies of all the bills and credit card statements I'd found in Daniel's home office. I'd taken pictures of them with my phone before I left. Now, I had hard evidence of his debt situation. Next, I went to my bank and requested a complete record of all transactions on my account for the past year, including security camera footage of Daniel making the withdrawals. "Why do you need this?" Jessica the teller asked. "I'm considering legal action," I said simply. Mr. Walsh appeared again. "Mrs. Chen, I really don't think you have grounds for a lawsuit." "That's for my lawyer to decide," I said firmly. "I'm entitled to my account records. Please provide them." He did. I walked out with a folder full of documentation showing exactly when and how Daniel had taken my money. Next, I drove to Daniel's workplace, Johnson Pharmaceuticals, a mid-sized drug company where he worked as a sales representative. I didn't go inside. Instead, I sat in the parking lot and waited. At lunchtime, I watched employees come and go. I was looking for someone specific. Daniel's boss. I'd met him once about 2 years ago at a company event Daniel had invited me to. His name was Stephen Morrison, and he was the regional sales director. Middle-aged man, professional-looking, seemed like a by-the-book type. I saw Stephen leave the building around 12:30, heading toward a nearby sandwich shop. I followed him. Inside the shop, I approached him while he was waiting in line. "Mr. Morrison," I said. He turned, looking confused. "Yes." "I'm Margaret Chen, Daniel Chen's mother. We met briefly at the company holiday party 2 years ago." Recognition dawned. "Oh, yes, Mrs. Chen, how nice to see you. How are you?" "Actually, I was hoping I could talk to you for a moment," I said. "It's about Daniel." Stephen's expression became concerned. "Is Daniel okay? Is something wrong?" "Could we sit down?" I asked, gesturing to a table. We got our sandwiches and sat down. Stephen looked worried. "Mr. Morrison, I need to tell you something about Daniel, and I need you to understand that I'm only telling you this because I have no other choice," I began. "What's going on?" Stephen asked. "Daniel stole nearly $300,000 from me," I said bluntly. "He had access to my bank account, and over the past 6 weeks, he's withdrawn almost all of my life savings without my knowledge or permission." Stephen's eyes widened. "Mrs. Chen, that's a very serious accusation." "It's not an accusation. It's a fact," I said. I pulled out the bank statements showing the withdrawals, with Daniel's signature clearly visible on the withdrawal slips. He took this money to pay off massive debts he'd accumulated. Credit cards, personal loans, car loans. He's over $230,000 in debt, and he used my retirement savings to bail himself out. Stephen looked at the documents, his face troubled. "Mrs. Chen, I'm very sorry this happened to you, but I'm not sure why you're telling me this. This is a personal family matter." "I'm telling you because I want you to understand the kind of person working for you," I said. "Daniel is someone who will steal from his own mother, someone who raised him alone, who worked 3 jobs to put him through college, who sacrificed everything for him. If he'll steal from me, what else is he capable of?" "Mrs. Chen, I'm also telling you because I know your company has ethics policies," I continued. "I looked them up on your website. Johnson Pharmaceuticals has a very clear code of conduct. Employees are expected to demonstrate integrity, honesty, and ethical behavior both at work and in their personal lives." Stephen's expression hardened slightly. "Mrs. Chen, are you threatening to report Daniel to HR?" "I'm not threatening anything," I said calmly. "I'm simply informing you, as his supervisor, of the situation. What you do with this information is up to you. But I thought you should know that one of your employees is in serious financial trouble and has resorted to stealing from family members to deal with it. I stood up to leave. Mrs. Chen, wait, Stephen said. Does Daniel know you're here? No, I said, and I'd appreciate it if you didn't tell him, at least not yet. I have a few more stops to make first. I left Stephen sitting there, looking troubled and conflicted. Step 1 of my plan, complete. Next, I drove to the office where Daniel's girlfriend Lisa worked. She was an accountant at a mid-sized firm downtown. I'd met Lisa several times. She seemed nice enough, smart, professional, ambitious. Daniel had been dating her for about 2 years and had mentioned wanting to propose soon. I wondered if Lisa knew about Daniel's financial problems. I suspected she didn't. I walked into the building and asked the receptionist if I could speak with Lisa Thompson. Do you have an appointment? The receptionist asked. No, but I'm Lisa's boyfriend's mother, I said. I just need 5 minutes, it's important. The receptionist called Lisa's extension. A few minutes later, Lisa came down to the lobby, looking surprised. Margaret, Lisa said. She always called me by my first name. Is everything okay? Is Daniel all right? Can we talk somewhere private? I asked. We went to a small conference room off the lobby. Lisa looked worried. What's going on? Lisa asked. You're scaring me. Lisa, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me, I said. Do you know about Daniel's financial situation? Lisa looked confused. What do you mean? Has Daniel told you that he's over $200,000 in debt? I asked. Lisa's face went pale. What? No, that can't be right. It is right, I said. I pulled out copies of Daniel's credit card statements and bills. He owes $35,000 on this card, $42,000 on this one, $28,000 on this one. He has a $65,000 car loan, a $48,000 personal loan, medical bills. He was 3 months behind on his mortgage and about to lose his condo. Lisa stared at the papers, her hands shaking. I don't understand. Daniel told me he was doing well financially. He said he'd been saving for a ring. He said we could start looking at houses together. He lied to you, I said gently. And Lisa, there's something else you need to know. Daniel dealt with his debt problem by stealing money from me. I showed her the bank statements with the withdrawals. He took nearly $300,000 from my retirement savings without asking me, I continued. That's how he paid off all these debts, with my money. Lisa put her hand over her mouth. Oh my God. I'm telling you this because I think you deserve to know who you're planning to marry, I said. Daniel is someone who will lie to the people he loves. He'll steal from his own mother. He'll hide massive financial problems and debts. If you marry him, you'll be marrying all of his problems too. I can't believe this, Lisa whispered. I had no idea. He never said anything about debt. He always seemed like he had plenty of money. He's very good at pretending, I said. But Lisa, think about this carefully. Do you really want to build a life with someone who lies about something this important? Someone who would steal from his own mother? Lisa looked at me, tears in her eyes. Why are you telling me this? Are you trying to break us up? I'm telling you because you deserve the truth, I said. What you do with that information is up to you. But if I were you, I'd think very carefully before tying my financial future to someone who's proven to be dishonest and irresponsible with money. I left Lisa sitting in the conference room, staring at the evidence I'd given her. Step 2 of my plan, complete. My final stop was Daniel's condo building. I wanted to speak with the condo association president. I found her name on the building directory, Helen Zhang. I buzzed her unit. Hello, came a voice through the intercom. Mrs. Zhang, my name is Margaret Chen. I'm Daniel Chen's mother from Unit 304. I was hoping I could speak with you for a moment about the building. There was a pause. Come on up, I'm in Unit 502. Helen Zhang was a woman in her 50s, stern-looking but polite. She invited me into her condo. What can I help you with, Mrs. Chen? Helen asked. I wanted to talk to you about Daniel, I said. I understand he's been behind on his HOA fees. Helen's expression tightened. I'm not really supposed to discuss other owners' accounts. I understand, I said. But Helen, I need to be honest with you. Daniel has serious financial problems. He's deeply in debt. He recently stole nearly $300,000 from me to pay off some of his debts, and I suspect he used some of that money to catch up on his HOA fees. He did pay us, Helen confirmed. He was 3 months behind, but he paid everything plus late fees about 6 weeks ago. That matched the timing of Daniel's first withdrawal from my account. Here's what I need you to understand, I said. That money he used to pay you, that was stolen from me. It's my retirement savings, and now I'm broke while Daniel is living in this nice condo. Helen looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Chen, I'm very sorry about your situation, but I'm not sure what you want me to do about it. I want you to watch him carefully, I said, because I guarantee you Daniel's financial problems aren't over. He might have paid off his debts with my money, but he'll accumulate new debts. He's irresponsible with money. And next time he falls behind on his HOA fees, I want you to take action immediately. Don't give him extra time. Don't work out payment plans. Follow your bylaws strictly. We always follow our bylaws, Helen said stiffly. Good, I said, because I'd hate for the other condo owners to know that someone in this building is a thief who steals from elderly family members. That kind of reputation could affect property values. Helen's eyes narrowed. Are you threatening to cause problems for Daniel with the condo association? I'm not threatening anything, I said calmly. I'm simply stating facts. Daniel is a thief. He's financially irresponsible, and he lives in this building. Do with that information what you will. I left Helen looking thoughtful and concerned. Step 3 of my plan, complete. Thursday morning, I woke up to 7 missed calls from Daniel. I turned my phone on silent before going to bed. There were also text messages. Mom, we need to talk. Mom, what did you do? Mom, Stephen from work called me in for a meeting. What did you tell him? Mom, Lisa broke up with me. She said you told her things about me. What the hell? Mom, call me back right now. I didn't call him back. Instead, I went to work for my shift at the hospital. Around 2 p.m., during my break, Daniel showed up at the hospital. He found me in the break room. Mom, what the hell did you do? Daniel demanded, walking in. His face was red with anger. Keep your voice down, I said calmly. This is a hospital. You went to my boss, Daniel said, his voice slightly lower but still angry. You told him I stole from you. Do you know what you've done? I told him the truth, I said. That you took $287,000 from me without my knowledge or permission. Stephen said I need to meet with HR tomorrow, Daniel said. They're investigating whether I violated the company's ethics policy. Mom, I could lose my job over this. You should have thought of that before you stole from me, I said. And Lisa, Daniel continued. Lisa broke up with me. She said you told her about my debts and made her think I was some kind of criminal. I showed her evidence of your debts and explained that you'd stolen money from me, I corrected. She drew her own conclusions. Why are you doing this? Daniel asked, his voice breaking. You're ruining my life. No, Daniel, I said firmly. You ruined my life when you stole my retirement savings. I'm just making sure you face consequences for your actions. Consequences, Daniel repeated. Mom, if I lose my job, I'll lose my condo. I'll lose everything. Now you know how I felt on Tuesday when I discovered you'd taken everything from me, I said. This is different, Daniel protested. I'm your son. Exactly, I said. You're my son, which makes what you did even worse. You should have been the last person in the world to betray me, but you did it anyway. What do you want? Daniel asked desperately. What do I have to do to make you stop? I want my money back, I said simply. Every penny. I don't have it, Daniel said. I spent it, it's gone, I paid off my debts. Then you'll just have to get it back, I said. Get a second job, sell your condo, sell your car, do whatever you have to do. But I want my $287,000 back, and I want it in the next 6 months. 6 months, Daniel said incredulously. There's no way I can get $287,000 in 6 months. Then I guess you'd better figure it out, I said, standing up. Because Daniel, what I've done so far is just the beginning. If you don't start working on getting my money back, I'm going to make your life so difficult that you'll wish you'd never touched my account. How? Daniel asked. You've already talked to my boss and my girlfriend. What else can you do? I smiled coldly. Oh, Daniel, I haven't even gotten started. After my shift ended, I went home and made more phone calls. First, I called Daniel's mortgage company. I explained that I was concerned about my son's ability to make his mortgage payments and wanted to know if there was a way to report potential fraud on the loan application. What kind of fraud? The representative asked. I believe my son may have lied about his income or debts when he applied for his mortgage, I said. I have evidence he has over $200,000 in debts that he may not have disclosed. We take loan application fraud very seriously, the representative said. I'll open an investigation. Next, I called the IRS tip line. I didn't know for sure if Daniel had reported the $287,000 he took from me as income, but I suspected he hadn't. Money moved from a joint account might be taxable depending on how it's used. I'd like to report potential tax fraud, I told the IRS representative. Finally, I posted on a local community Facebook group that Daniel was a member of. Looking for advice, my son stole my entire life savings, nearly $300,000 from a joint bank account we shared. He used the money to pay off his own debts. Legally, he had the right to take it because his name was on the account. But morally, he stole from me. What would you do? Has anyone else dealt with family theft? The post exploded. Within hours, there were over 200 comments. People were outraged. Many people said they knew Daniel or recognized his name. Some people started sharing the post. Daniel's reputation in our community was being destroyed. That evening, Daniel called me. This time I answered. Mom, take down that Facebook post, Daniel said immediately. Please, people are recognizing my name. My friends are seeing it. My coworkers are seeing it. You're humiliating me publicly. I'm telling the truth publicly, I said. Is that what bothers you, that people know what you did? You're ruining my reputation, Daniel said. You ruined your reputation when you stole from me, I said. I'm just making sure people know who you really are. I'll get you your money, Daniel said desperately. I'll figure out a way. Just please stop this. Stop talking to my employer. Stop posting about me. Stop trying to destroy my life. How will you get the money? I asked. I'll take out a personal loan, Daniel said. Daniel, you just paid off $230,000 in debt, I said. Who's going to give you a loan for $287,000? I'll find a way, Daniel insisted. I'll get a second job. I'll work overtime. I'll sell things. Just please give me a chance to fix this. You have 6 months, I said. If you can pay me back $287,000 in 6 months, I'll drop this. I'll take down the Facebook post. I'll stop contacting people in your life. But if you don't pay me back, I'm going to make your life miserable until you do. That's not fair, Daniel protested. There's no way I can get that much money in 6 months. Then you shouldn't have taken it in the first place, I said, and hung up. Friday morning, Daniel had his meeting with HR at Johnson Pharmaceuticals. I knew because Stephen Morrison called me afterward. Mrs. Chen, this is Stephen Morrison, he said. I wanted to update you on the situation with Daniel. What happened? I asked. We had a meeting with Daniel and our HR director this morning, Stephen said. We asked Daniel about the allegations you made. He admitted that he took money from your joint bank account. He claimed it was a family matter and not relevant to his employment. What did HR say? I asked. Our ethics policy is clear, Stephen said. Employees are expected to demonstrate integrity and ethical behavior. The HR director felt that Daniel taking nearly $300,000 from his elderly mother, even if technically legal, showed a serious lack of integrity. So what happens to him? I asked. He's been placed on probationary status, Stephen said. He'll be closely monitored for the next 90 days. If there are any other issues, any questions about his integrity or judgment, he'll be terminated. And honestly, Mrs. Chen, I don't think Daniel will make it through the 90 days. The story has already spread through the office. His reputation here is damaged. It's going to be very difficult for him to continue working here. Thank you for telling me, I said. Mrs. Chen, can I ask you something? Stephen said. Why are you doing this? I understand you're angry about the money, but it seems like you're going out of your way to destroy your son's life. I'm not destroying his life, I said. He destroyed my life when he stole my retirement savings. I'm 65 years old, Mr. Morrison. I should be retiring next month. Instead, I'm broke and have to keep working because my son stole everything I'd saved for 40 years. All I'm doing is making sure he faces consequences for what he did. By making him lose his job, Stephen asked. By making sure everyone knows who he really is, I said. By making sure he can't just walk away from what he did and pretend it didn't happen. After I hung up, I felt a small twinge of guilt. Was I going too far? Was I being vindictive? But then I looked at my bank statement. $47.23. That's all I had left because of what Daniel did. No, I wasn't going too far. Daniel had taken everything from me. It was only fair that he lose things too. Friday evening, there was a knock on my apartment door. It was Daniel. He looked terrible. His eyes were red like he'd been crying. His face was pale. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Can I come in? He asked quietly. I let him in. We sat down in my small living room. Mom, I'm falling apart, Daniel said, his voice breaking. Everything in my life is falling apart. My job is hanging by a thread. Lisa broke up with me. People in the community are talking about me. The condo association president has been giving me dirty looks. The bank is investigating my mortgage application. I got a letter from the IRS saying they're auditing me. Good, I said flatly. Good, Daniel repeated. Mom, my life is being destroyed. Now you know how it feels, I said. Now you know what it's like to have everything taken away from you. I get it, Daniel said. I understand. You're angry. You have every right to be angry. But Mom, please, I'm your son. I made a terrible mistake, but I'm still your son. You stopped being my son when you stole from me, I said coldly. Daniel flinched like I'd hit him. You don't mean that. Don't I asked. Daniel, you took my entire life savings. You knew how hard I'd worked to save that money. You knew I was planning to retire. You knew that money was all I had. And you took it anyway because you thought I'd just let it go because you're my son. I was desperate, Daniel said. I was drowning in debt. I didn't know what else to do. You could have asked me for help, I said. You could have been honest with me about your financial problems. You could have asked to borrow money and we could have worked out a repayment plan. But you didn't ask. You just took, because you thought you were entitled to my money. I'll pay you back, Daniel said. I swear to God, I'll pay you back every penny. Just please stop what you're doing. Stop trying to destroy my life. How? I asked. How are you going to pay me back $287,000? You're about to lose your job. You have no savings. You've already sold everything of value to pay off your debts. Where are you going to get the money? Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I'll sell my condo. Your condo, I repeated. I'll sell it, Daniel said. It's worth about $350,000. After I pay off the mortgage, I'll have about $80,000 in equity. I'll give you that money. Then I'll get a personal loan or a payment plan for the rest, but I'll pay you back, I promise. I looked at my son. He was serious. For the first time since this whole nightmare started, he seemed genuinely willing to do whatever it took to make things right. Sell the condo, I said. Give me the equity, then we'll talk about a payment plan for the rest. Okay, Daniel said, relief flooding his face. Okay, I'll call a real estate agent tomorrow. I'll put it on the market immediately. Good, I said. Daniel stood up to leave. At the door, he turned back. Mom, I really am sorry, he said. I know I've said it before, but I mean it. What I did was wrong. Unforgivably wrong. I understand if you never forgive me. but I'm going to try to make it right. I promise. After he left, I sat alone in my apartment. I'd won. I'd forced Daniel to agree to pay me back. He was going to sell his condo, and I'd get at least $80,000 back soon, with the rest to follow on a payment plan. But I didn't feel victorious. I just felt tired and sad. Because in the process of getting my money back, I'd lost my son. And I wasn't sure that was a price worth paying. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. 2 weeks after Daniel promised to sell his condo, I received a phone call that changed everything. It was from a woman named Rachel Kim. She introduced herself as an attorney. Ms. Chen, my name is Rachel Kim. I'm calling because I represent someone who has information about your son Daniel Chen that I think you need to hear, she said. What kind of information? I asked cautiously. I'd rather not discuss it over the phone, Rachel said. Could you meet me at my office tomorrow? I promise you what I have to tell you is important. Something in her voice made me agree. The next morning, I went to her office, a small practice in downtown Seattle. Rachel was a woman in her 40s, professional and serious-looking. She invited me into her office and closed the door. Ms. Chen, thank you for coming, Rachel said. What I'm about to tell you is going to be difficult to hear, but I believe you have a right to know. Know what? I asked, my stomach knotting with anxiety. I represent a client named Amanda Foster, Rachel said. Amanda is 73 years old. Up until 3 months ago, she had $340,000 in savings. Now she has nothing. My blood ran cold. What does this have to do with Daniel? Your son Daniel took Amanda's money, Rachel said. The exact same way he took yours. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. What? Rachel pulled out a folder. Amanda met your son about 18 months ago at a community event. Daniel was charming, friendly. He started visiting her regularly. He'd help her with errands, take her to doctor's appointments, check on her. Amanda has no children of her own. She was lonely. Daniel became like a son to her. Oh God, I whispered. 6 months ago, Daniel convinced Amanda that she should add him to her bank account, Rachel continued. He told her the same thing he told you, that it was for emergencies, in case something happened to her, and she needed someone to access her accounts to pay bills. And she trusted him, I said, feeling sick. She trusted him, Rachel confirmed. And starting 3 months ago, Daniel began withdrawing money from Amanda's account. $120,000 in August, $115,000 in September, $105,000 in October. By the time Amanda discovered what was happening, her entire life savings was gone. I stared at Rachel in horror. Daniel stole from someone else, another elderly woman. Yes, Rachel said. And Ms. Chen, I suspect Amanda wasn't the first, or the last. I think your son has been systematically targeting elderly people, gaining their trust, getting access to their bank accounts, and stealing their money. But why? I asked. Why would he do this? The timeline matches his debt accumulation, Rachel said. Based on what you've told me and what I've learned about Daniel's financial situation, he's been living well beyond his means for years. The BMW, the expensive condo, the lifestyle, he couldn't afford any of it, so he started looking for easy money, elderly people who trusted him. He targeted his own mother, I said, the full horror of it sinking in. I don't think he started with you, Rachel said gently. I think you were the most recent victim. Amanda came before you, and I suspect there were others before Amanda. How did you find out about me? I asked. Amanda saw your Facebook post about family theft, Rachel explained. She recognized Daniel's name immediately. She contacted me, and I did some investigating. That's when I discovered what Daniel did to you. Why didn't Amanda go to the police? I asked. She did, Rachel said. They told her the same thing they'd tell you. It's a civil matter, not a criminal one. Daniel's name was on the account. Legally, he had the right to the money. So he gets away with it, I said bitterly. Not necessarily, Rachel said. Ms. Chen, I specialize in elder financial abuse cases. What your son did, targeting elderly people, gaining their trust, manipulating them into giving him access to their accounts, then stealing from them, that's a pattern of predatory behavior. If we can prove a pattern, we might be able to build a criminal case for elder abuse and fraud. How do we prove a pattern? I asked. We need to find the other victims, Rachel said. If Daniel did this to you and to Amanda, I'm willing to bet he did it to others. We need to find them and convince them to come forward. How do we do that? I asked. We start by looking at Daniel's life, Rachel said. Where does he volunteer? What community groups is he part of? Where would he have access to elderly people who might be vulnerable and trusting? Over the next week, Rachel and I became investigators. We started digging into Daniel's life, looking for connections to elderly people who might have been victims. We discovered Daniel volunteered at a senior center 2 years ago. He'd been a friendly visitor program where volunteers were matched with isolated seniors who needed companionship. Rachel contacted the senior center and explained that we were investigating potential financial abuse. The director, Mrs. Patterson, was shocked. Daniel Chen was one of our most dedicated volunteers, Mrs. Patterson said. He visited with several seniors regularly. They all loved him. Can you give us the names of the seniors he visited? Rachel asked. Mrs. Patterson hesitated. That's private information. I'm not supposed to. Mrs. Patterson, we believe Daniel may have been stealing from the people he was supposed to be helping, I said. Please, we need to contact them. Mrs. Patterson looked troubled, but she finally agreed. She gave us a list of 5 names, 5 elderly people Daniel had been matched with through the volunteer program. Rachel and I started calling them. The first 2 were fine. They remembered Daniel fondly and hadn't had any financial problems. The third person on the list was Harold Martinez, 81 years old. When Rachel explained why we were calling, Harold went quiet. Then he said, "He took my money too, didn't he? That son of a bitch took my money too." How much? Rachel asked gently. $175,000, Harold said. My entire retirement savings. I added him to my account because he said it was for emergencies. Then 6 months ago, the money started disappearing. Victim number 3. The fourth person was Dorothy Williams, 78 years old. Daniel had taken $220,000 from her. Victim number 4. The fifth person was James Cooper, 75 years old. Daniel had taken $155,000 from him. Victim number 5. By the end of the week, we'd identified 5 victims besides me and Amanda. 7 elderly people total. Daniel had stolen over $1.4 million from vulnerable seniors. I felt physically ill. This wasn't just about me anymore. This wasn't just my son making a terrible mistake out of desperation. This was a pattern, a scheme. Daniel was a predator who deliberately targeted elderly people, gained their trust, and stole their life savings. My son was a monster. That Friday evening, I went to Daniel's condo. I didn't call ahead. I just showed up and knocked on the door. Daniel opened it, looking surprised. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "We need to talk," I said, pushing past him into the condo. "Is this about the sale?" Daniel asked. "Because I've already listed the condo. The realtor thinks we'll get offers soon." "It's not about the condo," I interrupted. "It's about Amanda Foster." Daniel's face went pale. "Who?" "Don't lie to me," I said. "Amanda Foster, Harold Martinez, Dorothy Williams, James Cooper. Do those names ring a bell?" Daniel backed away from me, his face going from pale to white. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do," I said. "They're all elderly people you volunteered to help, people you gained the trust of, people you convinced to add you to their bank accounts, and then you stole from them, just like you stole from me." "That's not," Daniel started. "Don't you dare lie to me," I shouted. "I've talked to them, Daniel, all of them. I know what you did. You stole from 7 elderly people, over $1.4 million total." Daniel sank onto his couch, his head in his hands. "Oh, God." "Is that all you have to say?" I demanded. Oh, God. I didn't mean for it to go this far, Daniel said, his voice muffled. It started with just one person, Harold. I met him at the senior center. He was lonely. He had no family. He had money saved, and I was in debt. I thought just once, just enough to pay off my credit cards, and then I'd stop. But you didn't stop, I said. No, Daniel admitted, because it was so easy. They all trusted me. They were grateful for the attention. They wanted to help me, and I needed the money, so I kept doing it. Dorothy, James, Amanda, I told myself it wasn't really wrong because they were giving me access willingly. They were adding me to their accounts. It wasn't like I was breaking into their homes or stealing their checkbooks. You manipulated them, I said. You took advantage of lonely, vulnerable people who trusted you. I know, Daniel said, starting to cry. I know what I did, and I hate myself for it. But Mom, I was drowning. I had so much debt. I didn't know what else to do. So you targeted your own mother, I said. After stealing from 6 strangers, you decided to steal from me too. You were the last one, Daniel said. I thought if I could just get your money, I could pay off all my debts and stop. I could put this all behind me and never do it again. And you thought I'd never find out, I said. I thought you'd just think it was for the best, Daniel admitted. I thought you'd be glad I was finally financially stable. I didn't think you'd investigate. I didn't think you'd fight back. You underestimated me, I said coldly. I underestimated everyone, Daniel said. I thought I was so smart. I thought I had it all figured out. But Mom, I'm not smart. I'm just a pathetic thief who stole from people who trusted me. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. He looked so broken, so defeated. But then I thought about Amanda, 73 years old with nothing. Harold, 81 and broke. Dorothy, James, all the people whose lives Daniel had destroyed. And my pity disappeared. There's a lawyer named Rachel Kim, I said. She's gathering all the victims together. We're building a case against you. A real case. Not a civil matter, but a criminal case for elder abuse and fraud. Daniel looked up at me, terror in his eyes. Mom, no, please. If you do that, I'll go to prison. Yes, you will, I said, for a long time. Mom, I'm your son, Daniel begged. Please don't do this. I'll pay everyone back. I'll sell the condo and give all the money to the victims. I'll get a second job. I'll work for the rest of my life to make this right. Just please don't send me to prison. You should have thought of that before you became a criminal, I said. I made mistakes, Daniel cried. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Sorry isn't enough, I said. Daniel, you destroyed 7 people's lives. 7 people who worked their entire lives to save money for their retirement. And you stole it all because you wanted to live beyond your means. What can I do? Daniel asked desperately. Tell me what I can do to fix this. You can't fix it, I said. Some things can't be fixed, Daniel. Some mistakes are too big. Some betrayals are too deep. This is one of those times. I walked to the door. Mom, please, Daniel called after me. Don't do this, I'm begging you. I turned back to look at him one last time. My son, the baby I'd held in my arms, the child I'd raised alone, the person I'd loved more than anyone in the world. I have to do this, I said quietly. Not just for me, but for Amanda, Harold, Dorothy, James, and everyone else you hurt. You need to face consequences, real consequences. And if I don't make sure that happens, you'll just do it again to someone else. I won't, Daniel promised. I swear I'll never. I don't believe you, I said, and I never will again. I left Daniel sobbing on his couch. The following week, Rachel organized a meeting of all the victims. We met at her office. Me, Amanda, Harold, Dorothy, James, and 2 others I hadn't met before. We sat around a conference table. 7 elderly people who'd all been betrayed by the same person. Thank you all for coming, Rachel said. I know this is difficult, but I wanted you all to meet each other, to understand that you're not alone, that what happened to you happened to others. How much did he take from all of us? Harold asked. Rachel consulted her notes. Total, across 7 victims, approximately $1.4 million. There was silence around the table. That's a lot of money, Dorothy said quietly. It's a lot of lives destroyed, Amanda added. Here's what I propose, Rachel said. We go to the district attorney with all of your cases together. We show a pattern of predatory behavior. We show that Daniel Chen systematically targeted elderly people, gained their trust, manipulated them into giving him access to their finances, and then stole from them. That's not a civil matter. That's criminal elder abuse and fraud. Will he go to prison? James asked. If we can get the DA to file charges, and if we win the case, yes, Rachel said. He'll face multiple counts of elder abuse, fraud, and theft. He could get 10 to 20 years in prison. Good, Harold said firmly. He deserves it. But there's something you all need to understand, Rachel continued. Daniel doesn't have the money anymore. He spent it paying off his debts. Even if we win a criminal case, even if he goes to prison, you're probably never getting your money back. I don't care about the money anymore, Amanda said. I just want him to face justice. Around the table, the others nodded in agreement. Margaret, Rachel asked, looking at me, how do you feel? I thought about it. Did I want my money back? Of course. But did I want it more than I wanted Daniel to face real consequences for what he'd done? File the charges, I said. Daniel needs to go to prison. Rachel took our case to the district attorney. With 7 victims, a clear pattern of behavior, and nearly $1.4 million stolen, the DA agreed to file criminal charges. On a Tuesday morning, police arrived at Daniel's workplace to arrest him. I wasn't there, but I heard about it later from Stephen Morrison, who called me. They arrested him at work, Stephen said. Right in the middle of the office, put him in handcuffs and walked him out in front of everyone. It was awful, Mrs. Chen. I know what he did was wrong, but seeing him arrested like that. He's lucky they arrested him at work and not at home in the middle of the night, I said flatly. He's lucky they didn't parade him through his neighborhood. I suppose, Stephen said. Mrs. Chen, I should tell you, we terminated his employment effective immediately. After the arrest, we really had no choice. I understand, I said. Daniel was charged with 7 counts of elder abuse, 7 counts of fraud, 7 counts of grand theft, and 1 count of running a continuing financial crimes enterprise. His bail was set at $500,000. He couldn't pay it. He sat in jail. His condo was still on the market, but now it was being sold to pay legal fees, not to pay back victims. Everything Daniel had built, his career, his reputation, his lifestyle, was gone. 3 days after his arrest, I received a call from the county jail. Daniel wanted to speak to me. I accepted the call. Mom, Daniel's voice came through, weak and broken. Mom, please, you have to help me. Help you? I repeated. Daniel, you're in jail because of what you did. I didn't put you there. You put yourself there. I know, Daniel said. I know I did this to myself. But Mom, I can't stay in here. I can't go to prison. Please, you have to help me. Talk to the DA. Tell them you don't want to press charges. It's too late for that, I said. The state is prosecuting you now. It's not up to me anymore. Then testify for me, Daniel begged. Tell them I was a good son. Tell them I made a mistake, but I'm not a bad person. Tell them I don't deserve to go to prison. But you are a bad person, I said quietly, and you do deserve to go to prison. Mom, how can you say that? Daniel asked, his voice breaking. I'm your son. No, I said. You stopped being my son when you stole from me, when you looked at me and saw a source of money instead of seeing your mother, when you decided your debts were more important than my retirement. You stopped being my son a long time ago, Daniel. I just didn't realize it until now. Please, Daniel whispered. I'm begging you. I'm your only child. I'm all you have. You're not all I have, I said. I have Amanda. I have Harold, Dorothy, James, and all the others you hurt. They've become more family to me than you ever were, because they understand what it's like to be betrayed by someone you trusted. They understand what you took from me. I'm going to die in prison, Daniel said. No, you're not, I said. You're going to serve your sentence. You're going to have time to think about what you did, and maybe you'll become a better person. But Daniel, you're never going to be my son again. That relationship is dead. You killed it when you stole from me. Mom, Daniel started. But I hung up. It was the last time I ever spoke to my son. Daniel's trial took place 6 months after his arrest. All 7 victims testified. We each told our stories of how Daniel had gained our trust, manipulated us, and stolen from us. The jury took less than 3 hours to find him guilty on all counts. At sentencing, the judge looked at Daniel with disgust. Mr. Chen, you targeted the most vulnerable members of our society, the judge said. You took advantage of elderly people who were lonely, who trusted you, who saw you as a friend or even as a son. You systematically stole their life savings, money they'd worked decades to accumulate. You destroyed their financial security in their final years of life, and you showed no remorse until you were caught. The judge sentenced Daniel to 15 years in prison, with no possibility of parole for at least 10 years. Daniel broke down crying in the courtroom. He looked at me, his eyes pleading. I looked away. After the trial, Rachel helped all 7 victims file a civil lawsuit against Daniel. We won, of course. Daniel was ordered to repay the full $1.4 million plus interest and legal fees. But Daniel had nothing. His condo had been sold and the money went to legal fees. His car was repossessed. He had no assets, no savings, no way to pay us back. The judgment was essentially worthless. I'm sorry, Rachel told us. You have a legal judgment, but it's unlikely any of you will ever see your money again. We knew that going in, Amanda said. This wasn't about the money, it was about justice. Did we get justice? Dorothy asked. He's going to prison for 15 years, Harold said. I'd say that's justice. Around the table, we all nodded in agreement. We'd lost our money. We'd lost our financial security. Some of us would have to keep working years longer than we'd planned. Some of us would have to drastically change our lifestyles. But we'd won something more important than money. We'd won our dignity back. We'd proven that we weren't just victims. We'd fought back, and we'd won. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. 3 years after Daniel was sent to prison, I received a letter from him. It was the first communication I'd had from him since the trial. I stared at the envelope for a long time before opening it. Part of me wanted to throw it away unopened, but curiosity won out. Inside was a handwritten letter. Daniel's handwriting, but different somehow. More careful, more deliberate. Dear Mom, I know I have no right to write to you. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I'm writing anyway because my therapist here in prison says I need to make genuine amends to the people I hurt. Not because I want something from you, but because it's the right thing to do. I've spent the past 3 years in prison thinking about what I did, really thinking about it, not making excuses, not justifying it, just facing the truth of who I was and what I did. I was a predator. I targeted vulnerable elderly people, gained their trust, and stole their life savings. I stole from you, my own mother, the woman who raised me alone, who worked multiple jobs to give me everything. I destroyed 7 people's lives because I wanted to live beyond my means. There's no excuse for that, no justification. It was evil, I was evil. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve forgiveness. I'm writing to tell you that I understand now. I understand what I took from you. Not just money, but security, peace of mind, the ability to retire. I took your future, and I can never give that back. I'm also writing to tell you something I learned recently that I think you deserve to know. It might not matter to you, but I wanted you to hear it from me. The condo sold for $360,000. After the mortgage was paid off, there was $85,000 in equity. My lawyer took $30,000 for his fees. The remaining $55,000 is sitting in an escrow account. I've instructed my lawyer to divide that money among all 7 victims proportionally based on how much I stole from each of you. It's not much. You'll each get about $7,800. It's nowhere near what I took, but it's all I have to give. I know it doesn't fix anything. I know it doesn't make up for what I did, but I wanted you to have it anyway. I'm never going to be able to repay you the full $287,000 I stole. Even after I get out of prison, if I live that long, I'll probably never make enough money to pay you back. But I'm going to try. For the rest of my life, I'm going to try to make amends for what I did. I don't expect you to respond to this letter. I don't expect you to visit me. I don't expect anything from you ever again. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Truly, deeply, genuinely sorry. Your son, Daniel. I read the letter 3 times. Then I set it down and cried. Not because I forgave him, not because the letter changed anything, but because I could see that Daniel had finally understood what he'd done, finally faced the truth of who he'd been. It didn't give me my money back. It didn't undo the betrayal, but it was something. About a month after receiving Daniel's letter, I attended a meeting of a support group Rachel had started. It was for victims of financial elder abuse, not just Daniel's victims, but people from all over the city who'd been scammed, stolen from, or financially exploited. The 7 of us who'd been Daniel's victims were still close. We met regularly, had become friends. We'd bonded over our shared experience. At this particular meeting, Amanda stood up to share something. I've been thinking a lot about what happened to us, Amanda said, about how Daniel was able to do what he did, and I realized we were all vulnerable in the same way. We were all lonely. We all wanted someone to care about us. We all trusted too easily because we were desperate for connection. Around the room, people nodded. But here's what I've also realized, Amanda continued. We survived, we fought back, we got justice, and we found each other. I have more real friends now, people who genuinely care about me, than I ever did before. In a weird way, what happened to us brought us together, made us stronger. It also made us broke, Harold pointed out, but he was smiling slightly. That too, Amanda agreed. But money isn't everything. We have something more valuable now. We have each other. We have community. We have purpose. What purpose? Dorothy asked. The purpose of making sure this doesn't happen to other people, Amanda said. We need to educate people about financial elder abuse. We need to warn people about the tactics predators use. We need to tell our stories so other elderly people don't make the same mistakes we did. How do we do that? James asked. We start a foundation, Rachel suggested. She'd been sitting in the back, listening. A nonprofit organization dedicated to preventing elder financial abuse. You could give talks at senior centers, create educational materials, provide resources to victims. With what money? I asked. We're all broke. We apply for grants, Rachel said. We fundraise, we start small and build from there. But the important thing is you turn your victimhood into activism. You make something good come out of something terrible. Around the room, people started nodding, getting excited about the idea. That's how the Stolen Savings Foundation was born. Over the next year, our foundation grew. We started giving presentations at senior centers about how to protect yourself from financial scams. We created brochures and educational materials. We set up a hotline for elderly people who suspected they were being financially exploited. I became one of the primary speakers. I told my story, how my own son had stolen from me, how I'd been naive enough to add him to my bank account, how I'd fought back and gotten justice. People responded to my story. After every presentation, elderly people would come up to me with tears in their eyes. My daughter is pressuring me to add her to my accounts, one woman told me. I thought I was being paranoid for being suspicious, but after hearing your story, I realize my instincts were right. My son keeps asking to borrow money, another man said. He says he'll pay me back, but he never does. I was starting to feel guilty for saying no, but you've made me realize it's okay to protect myself, even from family. We were making a difference. We were helping people avoid the mistakes we'd made. And in the process, I found something I didn't expect: purpose. For 40 years, I'd worked as a nurse, helping people heal physically. Now I was helping people protect themselves financially and emotionally. It was different work, but it was just as important. Maybe more important. 18 months after Daniel went to prison, 4.5 years into his sentence, I received a call from the prison chaplain, a man named Father Miguel. "Ms. Chen, I'm calling about your son Daniel," Father Miguel said. My heart jumped. "Is he okay? Is he hurt?" "He's fine physically," Father Miguel assured me. "But he's been asking to see you. He's been in therapy, working on himself, trying to understand and take responsibility for what he did. His therapist thinks it would be beneficial for him to speak with you face to face, not to ask for anything, but to make a proper amends." "I don't know," I said. "Father Daniel destroyed my life. I'm not sure I want to see him." "I understand," Father Miguel said gently. "But Ms. Chen, I've been a prison chaplain for 20 years. I've seen a lot of inmates. Most of them are just marking time, waiting to get out. But Daniel is different. He's genuinely trying to change. He's working on his GED, attending every therapy session, volunteering in the prison library. He's not the same person who came in here 4 years ago." "People don't change that easily," I said skeptically. "No, they don't," Father Miguel agreed. "But sometimes, losing everything and facing real consequences is exactly what someone needs to finally see the truth about themselves. I think that's what happened with Daniel. I think he's finally grown up, finally become the person you tried to raise him to be." I was quiet for a long time. "I'll think about it." I talked to Amanda, Harold, Dorothy, and the others about whether I should visit Daniel. "Don't do it," Harold said immediately. "He doesn't deserve to see you." "Maybe that's exactly why you should," Dorothy countered. "Because it's not about what he deserves, it's about what you need." "What do you mean?" I asked. "I mean, you're still carrying anger," Dorothy said gently. "I can see it in you, Margaret. You've done amazing things with the foundation. You've helped so many people, but you're still hurting. You're still angry at Daniel. Maybe seeing him, hearing him apologize properly might help you let go of some of that anger." "I don't know if I can forgive him," I admitted. "Forgiveness isn't about him," Amanda said. "It's about you. It's about choosing not to let anger poison the rest of your life. You don't have to forgive him, Margaret, but maybe you need to see him one more time to decide whether you want to." After thinking about it for a week, I called the prison and scheduled a visit. The visiting room at the state prison was exactly what I'd imagined from movies. Gray walls, uncomfortable chairs bolted to the floor, guards watching everything. I sat at one of the tables and waited. Then Daniel walked in, and I barely recognized him. He'd lost weight, probably 30 or 40 pounds. His face was thinner, older. He had lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. His hair was cut short, prison style. He was wearing a prison uniform. But the biggest change was in his eyes. The arrogance, the entitlement, the selfishness I'd seen there before, it was gone, replaced by something else. Humility, maybe, or shame. He sat down across from me. For a long moment, we just looked at each other. "Hi, Mom," Daniel said quietly. "Hello, Daniel," I said. "Thank you for coming," Daniel said. "I know you didn't have to. I know you probably didn't want to, but thank you." "Father Miguel said you wanted to talk to me," I said. I do," Daniel said. He took a deep breath. "Mom, I've spent the past 4.5 years thinking about what I did to you, to all my victims. I've been in therapy 3 times a week. I've been working with Father Miguel. I've been trying to understand how I became the person who could steal from his own mother." "And what did you figure out?" I asked. "That I was selfish," Daniel said. "That I felt entitled to things I hadn't earned. That I wanted a lifestyle I couldn't afford, and instead of adjusting my expectations or working harder, I decided to take what I wanted from people who couldn't defend themselves." He looked down at his hands. "I told myself I wasn't really hurting anyone," Daniel continued. "I told myself you were old and didn't need the money as much as I did. I told myself the others would be fine. I justified it in 1,000 different ways. But the truth is, I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew I was stealing. I knew I was destroying people's lives. I just didn't care because I wanted the money." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because you deserve to hear the truth," Daniel said, looking up at me. "Not excuses, not justifications. The truth. I was a bad person, Mom. I was selfish, entitled, and cruel. I became someone you didn't raise me to be, and I'm so, so sorry." There were tears in his eyes. "I can never give you back what I took," Daniel continued. "The $287,000, yes, but also your sense of security, your ability to trust, your retirement, your relationship with your son. I destroyed all of that, and I can't fix it." "No, you can't," I agreed. "But I want you to know I'm not that person anymore," Daniel said. "Prison has been hell, but it's also been exactly what I needed. I've had to face what I did. I've had to see myself clearly for the first time in my life, and I don't like what I see. But I'm working on becoming someone better." He pulled out a piece of paper, a letter he'd written in advance. "I wrote down everything I wanted to say because I was afraid I'd forget or chicken out," Daniel explained. "Can I read it to you?" I nodded. Daniel unfolded the paper and began reading. "Mom, I stole $287,000 from you. That's a fact. But I stole more than money. I stole the retirement you'd earned. I stole 40 years of hard work and sacrifice. I stole your peace of mind. I stole your ability to trust your own son. I stole the mother-son relationship we had. I stole your future." His voice was shaking. "I can never give those things back, but I want you to know what I'm doing to try to make amends, even though I know it's not enough." He looked up from the paper. "I got my GED in prison. I'm taking college courses now, working toward an accounting degree. When I get out, I'm going to get a legitimate job, and every single paycheck I'm going to send you money. It'll probably take the rest of my life to pay back $287,000, but I'm going to try. Even if you never cash the checks, I'm going to send them, because you deserve to see me trying." "Daniel," I started, but he held up his hand. "I'm not done," he said. "I've also been working with Father Miguel on a program for other inmates who have committed financial crimes. We're trying to help them understand the real harm they caused, to see their victims as actual people, not just sources of money. I can't undo what I did, but maybe I can help prevent others from making the same mistakes." He folded the paper. "That's all I wanted to say," Daniel said. "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not asking you to have a relationship with me. I'm just asking you to know that I understand what I did, I'm sorry, and I'm trying to be better." We sat in silence for a long moment. "I started a foundation," I finally said. "Me and the other victims. We educate people about financial elder abuse. We help protect elderly people from predators, like you." "I heard about that," Daniel said. "Father Miguel told me, 'Mom, that's amazing. You turned something terrible into something good.'" "We had to," I said. "We couldn't get our money back, but we could try to prevent it from happening to others." "I'm proud of you," Daniel said. "Don't," I said sharply. "You don't get to be proud of me. You don't get to feel good about what I've accomplished. I did that in spite of you, not because of you." "You're right," Daniel said. "I'm sorry." We sat in silence again. "I can't forgive you," I finally said. "Not yet, maybe not ever. What you did was too big, too cruel. You didn't just steal from me. You betrayed me in the deepest way possible." "I understand," Daniel said. "But," I continued, "I can see that you've changed. I can see that you're not the same person who stole from me 5 years ago. I don't know if that changes anything. I don't know if we'll ever have a relationship again, but I can see you're trying." "That's more than I deserve to hear," Daniel said. "Thank you." The guard announced that visiting time was ending. Daniel stood up. "Mom, can I ask you one question before you go?" "What?" "Are you okay?" Daniel asked. "I know you had to keep working because of what I did. I know you couldn't retire like you planned. Are you managing?" I thought about my life now. I was still working, yes, but part-time. The $7,800 from the condo sale had helped, and the foundation work gave me purpose. "I'm managing," I said. "It's not the retirement I planned, but I'm okay." "I'm glad," Daniel said. "I know I have no right to care, but I'm glad you're okay." 6 months after my prison visit, I received a letter from a lawyer I'd never heard of, a man named Thomas Bradford. The letter said that a client of his had recently passed away, and had left me something in their will. I needed to come to his office to discuss it. Confused, I went to the appointment. "Ms. Chen, thank you for coming," Mr. Bradford said. "I'm the executor of the estate of George Patterson. Do you know that name?" "No," I said. "I've never heard of him." "George was 87 years old," Mr. Bradford explained. "He passed away last month. He had no children, no close family, but he left a very specific bequest in his will. He left $50,000 to you." I stared at him in shock. "Why? I don't even know him." "George attended one of your presentations about financial elder abuse," Mr. Bradford said. "He was so moved by your story that he contacted me and changed his will. He wanted to help you recover some of what was stolen from you." "But why me?" I asked. "There were 7 victims, why just me?" George's note said, "Margaret Chen showed extraordinary courage in fighting back against her own son. She turned her victimhood into activism and is now helping protect others. She deserves to rebuild her retirement," Mr. Bradford read from a document. I started crying right there in the lawyer's office. $50,000. Combined with the $7,800 from Daniel's condo and the money I'd managed to save over the past 5 years, I now had almost $75,000 in retirement savings. It wasn't the $287,000 Daniel had stolen, but it was something. It was hope. 7 years after Daniel went to prison, halfway through his sentence, I received a phone call from Father Miguel again. "Ms. Chen, I have some news," Father Miguel said. "Daniel is being considered for early release. He's been a model prisoner, completed his degree, and the parole board is impressed with his rehabilitation. They're going to release him in 6 months." My stomach dropped. "He's getting out." "Yes," Father Miguel said. "And Ms. Chen, he's asked me to tell you something. He's not going to contact you when he gets out. He's not going to try to rebuild a relationship with you. He's going to get a job, start paying you restitution like he promised, but otherwise stay out of your life unless you choose to reach out to him." "Good," I said. "He also wanted you to know that he's gotten a job lined up already," Father Miguel continued. "It's not a glamorous job. He'll be working as a bookkeeper at a small nonprofit, but it's honest work and he's grateful for it." 8 years after Daniel stole from me, I received a check in the mail. It was for $500, made out to me from Daniel Chen. There was a note attached. "Mom, this is the first of many. I know $500 is almost nothing compared to what I owe you, but it's 10% of my paycheck, and I'm sending it every month for as long as it takes. I don't expect you to cash these checks, but I'm sending them anyway because I promised I would. Daniel." I looked at the check for a long time. $500. At that rate, it would take him 48 years to pay back the full $287,000. He'd be 76 years old by the time he finished. I thought about throwing the check away. I thought about sending it back. But instead, I cashed it, and I put the money into a special savings account. Every month after that, another check came. $500, always with a short note, always the same. I cashed every single one. 11 years after Daniel stole from me, I was 76 years old. I'd finally been able to fully retire. The foundation was running well under new leadership. I had enough money saved, thanks to George Patterson's gift, Daniel's restitution payments, and my own continued saving, to live comfortably. I was sitting in my small apartment one evening when there was a knock on the door. I opened it to find Daniel standing there. He was 44 years old now. He looked older, more mature. He was dressed simply but neatly. He had a grocery bag in his arms. "Hi, Mom," he said. "I know I said I wouldn't contact you, but it's your birthday, and I thought maybe you'd let me cook you dinner, just once, just to say thank you for cashing the checks all these years." I looked at my son, the man who'd stolen my entire savings, the man who'd betrayed me in the worst way possible, the man who'd spent 8 years in prison for what he'd done. But also the man who'd spent the past 3 years sending me $500 every single month without fail. The man who was genuinely trying to make amends. The man who'd changed. "Okay," I said, stepping aside to let him in. We didn't talk much while he cooked. He made a simple meal, pasta with vegetables, nothing fancy. We ate in awkward silence at first. Then slowly we started talking. About small things, about his job at the nonprofit, about the foundation's work, about the weather. We didn't talk about the money. We didn't talk about the betrayal. We didn't talk about the 11 years that had passed. We just talked like two people who used to know each other, carefully rebuilding a bridge that had been burned down. After dinner, Daniel cleaned up the dishes. At the door, he turned to me. "Thank you for letting me come," he said. "I know I don't deserve your time or your forgiveness, but thank you anyway." "Daniel," I said, "I want you to know something. I'm never going to forget what you did. The betrayal, the theft, the damage you caused, that's always going to be part of our story." "I know," Daniel said. "But," I continued, "I can see that you're genuinely trying to be better. You've been paying me back for 3 years. You've rebuilt your life. You've become someone I can at least respect, even if I don't fully trust you yet." "That's more than I deserve," Daniel said. "So here's what I'm going to do," I said. "Once a month you can come cook dinner for me, just dinner, nothing more. We'll eat, we'll talk about safe topics, and then you'll leave. Maybe over time we can rebuild some kind of relationship. Maybe we can't, but we can try." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. "I'd like that, thank you, Mom." After he left, I sat in my apartment thinking about everything that had happened. Daniel had stolen my entire savings, $287,000 that I'd worked 40 years to accumulate. He'd betrayed me in the worst way possible. He'd destroyed my retirement plans and my sense of security. But I'd fought back. I'd gotten justice. I'd helped send him to prison. I'd started a foundation that had helped hundreds of elderly people protect themselves from financial abuse. And in the process, I discovered something unexpected. I was stronger than I'd ever known, more resilient, more capable of surviving devastating loss and building something new from the ashes. Daniel had taken my money, but he hadn't taken my spirit. He hadn't taken my ability to fight back. He hadn't taken my strength. And in the end, maybe that was the most valuable thing I'd learned. Money can be stolen, relationships can be destroyed, trust can be shattered. But your core self, your strength, your resilience, your ability to survive and even thrive after betrayal, that can never be taken from you unless you let it. Daniel stole my entire savings, but he didn't expect what happened next. He didn't expect me to fight back. He didn't expect me to get justice. He didn't expect me to turn my victimhood into activism. He didn't expect me to rebuild my life stronger than before. And he definitely didn't expect that 11 years later, I'd be the one deciding whether to let him back into my life, on my terms, not his. I'd won, not by getting my money back, I'd probably never get all of it back, but by refusing to let what he did define the rest of my life. My name is Margaret Chen. I'm 76 years old. My son stole my entire savings. But I didn't let him steal my future. This story proves that. Sparkle's financial abuse can happen within families. Trust doesn't mean blind trust. Sparkle's adding someone to your bank account gives them legal ownership. Sparkle's elderly financial abuse is a serious crime requiring serious consequences. Sparkle's fighting back against family betrayal is not wrong. It's necessary. Sparkle's victims can become activists and help others. Sparkle's redemption is possible, but takes years of consistent action. Sparkle's forgiveness is a choice, not an obligation. Sparkle's your strength cannot be stolen, only your money can. If this story moved you, white heavy checkmark subscribe for more powerful family justice stories. White heavy checkmark smash that like button. White heavy checkmark turn on notifications. Drop a comment. Would you have forgiven Daniel after 11 years? Did Margaret do the right thing, prosecuting her own son? Where are you watching from? United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, Philippines, Ghana, South Africa, India, Trinidad. Remember, never add someone to your bank account without understanding the legal implications. Joint account holders have equal ownership. Elderly financial abuse is criminal. Document everything if you suspect exploitation. Fighting back against family theft is justified. Support groups help healing. Rehabilitation requires years of consistent effort. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. You can rebuild after devastating loss. Turn victimhood into activism. Protect yourself even from family. Trust must be earned back after betrayal. Small monthly payments show genuine effort. Boundaries are necessary even with family. Your strength is your own. Nobody can take it. Thank you for following Margaret's journey from devastating betrayal to hard-won redemption.